Hello, and welcome back to part 15 of City Skylines 2 on our save of West Goldfield. Today, we know that there are some reoccurring problems such as traffic and death care, but I'd argue that those problems are because of traffic. So immediately, I do want to just look at what's going on here. And I think that the problem is actually pedestrians, which I think this could easily be solved if we got rid of this crosswalk. Is it gonna not let... Are we serious? Okay, so now that we've gotten rid of this crosswalk, people are still able to cross over here, and cars can turn in easier. So, I'm hoping that that should fix our problem. As we can see, traffic is backed up really far. Something else that I'm not sure about is, there are just like a ton of people here, and I don't think there's a bus stop either. Which, to me, that's interesting, but, I mean, what can we do? I think time will just mostly fix that one. And once these vehicles turn out, I think that should be problem solved. As we can see here, there's a ton of pedestrians, too. I do believe that, us removing that crosswalk did fix most of our issues. And I think now we can move on to looking at other things we could do. I think one of the more immediate things I would like to do is finish lining this highway with trees. I think it's just gonna make the area look much nicer. I think that that looks much nicer, and I do really like how there's trees and farmland. Now, something else I want to fix is this bridge. As we can see, it kind of curves this way for no reason. I made a mistake when building this, but we can fix that now. I think that looks a decent amount better and makes a ton more sense. Now, I have decided that I am going to build high-density buildings here once we get demand. And I think that once we build them, we can just put a few trees behind here. Something else I think I want to look into is actually connecting this main road up to at least this road here. I think that will just be helpful as far as just connecting the cities and keeping them less separated. Additionally, I do think I want to eventually maybe try to straighten this highway out a little bit, at least over here, once we get the zoning tile. And I know that I can't do that here because I've already built homes nearby, but I feel like it's a little silly that it's curving like crazy. As we can see, there's already a vehicle using this road, and pedestrians, which I'm not sure how I feel about, especially because there is a train track going right through it, but, you know, we can't control that, unfortunately. It's not something we can put a no walking sign for. I do think that I might also add a lane that just, bypasses this whole nonsense. I do hope this should fix our traffic problem, and I think I might just adjust it. That is our slip lane built. Hopefully that will make traffic faster. Now I do think with that built, we can get rid of the roundabout. And I believe we can also do something like this. I think this is much better, and I am hoping it should function better too. We can see that we have high density demand, so as I've said before, I think I will just build them here. That is demand satisfied, and I am again seeing we are having a bit of difficulty with our healthcare. Again, I do think that this is mostly a traffic issue, and I am hopeful that it will resolve itself. I do think a simple fix to traffic, though, would be to add a 3-lane asymmetrical road here, and I think time should fix that. I do want to look towards where we would continue to develop medium density houses, because right now I know we do have this area, but I am not sure if I just want to flood this area with homes too, and I do want to kind of continue developing over here. Quick mention, this slip lane seems to have fixed traffic. Again, there is high density demand, so we can build another building here. I think this will actually end up looking pretty nice, and now I'll just put a few trees down. I did add a few more trees behind these other buildings, and I also fixed the farm here to take up as much space as it can. Once again, high density demand is growing, and unfortunately, we're not seeing office demand, which is a little annoying to me because we did unlock our high density offices, which we can't build now, even though we have a lovely little bit of space for it here. So high density, something I realized that I gotta stop doing with high density is I gotta stop zoning these 6x6 buildings, because everything is just looking like so blocky and not like a real city. Additionally, we have a lot of money in the bank, which means we can repay a lot of debt. So I am also now seeing a traffic issue here, which I think a traffic light should actually solve, because there isn't a traffic light here at the moment. If we check on our high school, we can see that our high school is being used nicely, though we are still seeing the problem with 11 months until graduation, and that's really just not a good number, at least compared to what I've seen before. Another thing I want to do is add a few more trees along here, because this road is pretty busy, and there's homes right here. I think that that is much better, as again, we know that trees act as a sound barrier and reduce noise pollution. I am still seeing, though, like a pretty large backup, and I do think that a solution could be maybe adding a slip lane. We can still see there is a pretty major traffic backup, but I'm really just not sure how to fix that. We can tell that most cars do just want to go straight, but I mean, they're just really not able to. And maybe a roundabout would fix it, so I do think well, I'm not sure a roundabout would fix it actually, because we do have a slip lane here. And most people do want to go straight, so I mean, I guess we'd have to have a turn lane that like kind of goes over or under, but I'm not sure I really want to do that now. I can see that there is a pretty large amount of traffic going on here again, which is definitely from the pedestrians, and I think the solution would once again be to remove a crosswalk. There is still a crosswalk over here, so I think that that is an adequate amount of travel and pedestrian accessibility. I do also, just because this building is in the middle and is slightly different, just want to copy the preset for the color so that they're similar and closer to being the same. Again, we're seeing pedestrians aren't necessarily the problem, but they are definitely not helping. Over here, there are way too many crosswalks, and we definitely can't remove this one, so we might as well leave it. Again, high density demand is here, and I do think that it would be alright to add one low rent housing unit right here. I do want to maybe look towards developing this area, and I believe we still do have farmland we can use. Never mind, we do not. So I do think what we could actually look into building here is maybe just like a few service buildings as like a, well, just because this area is between train tracks and a connection road here. Alternatively, though, I think we might be able to curve the road here and run along the train tracks and reconnect it here. So I think that's what I'll opt for. That's cleared up a lot of space, and I think that we can actually now develop a few buildings in here, whether it be commercial, offices, or residential. Right now, I think that it makes sense to put residential buildings here, mainly because there is a large commercial area here, a ton of offices, which I do believe I will eventually, like the commercial, convert to be high density. So I think for now, it would actually make sense to just, along this road, add medium density homes, and along here, I think we could look into actually putting more medium density homes. Now, this is a pretty decent stretch of road with really nothing around it right now, so I think it might actually make sense to make this somewhat of a highway, kind of like a mini throughway. Now, of course, like I said, we do still want to put homes on it, so I think it makes sense to take like an alley off of it and just bring it this way. Hopefully this reduces travel times. As we can see, though, like there's no reason to have a different kind of road here because we do already have a highway here and we're not going to build anything too close to it. I also added a roundabout to keep traffic slow enough that it's not crazy fast, and something that would probably improve safety in real life. I do also just want to add a little bit of grass along here because there's kind of no reason for cars to park here, and I'll plant trees along the side. I think that this area is actually looking pretty nice. Now, of course, I am going to add more trees behind these buildings. something else that I want to look into that I haven't mentioned before, and honestly haven't done a ton in too many other cities, is actually add an area where it's just pedestrians and houses and businesses on it. And I think that that's a cool feature in the game, because I think it just makes it more like a walkable European city. And I think that's a pretty cool concept, at least to just have inside of a normal city. Now, I'm not sure where I would develop this, but I would 100% need to develop it near where we already have public transport, such as our trams, or maybe even near here when we put a train station. Now, what I'm kind of thinking about now is definitely adding that bus I've talked about before, connecting kind of these houses up to here, but instead I would probably connect here to here. Alternately though, once we expand this area, it might make sense to, instead of having the tram line connecting these two cities go through here, it might make sense to have a line that goes here and kind of just bounces back between the middle of the city, and then eventually one that goes here and bounces between here, with maybe 1 or 2 stops along the way. With that said, I do want to check on our tram system, because I know that before it was very high in capacity. As we can see, we have a ton of trams trying to get into the station, and they kind of can't because of pedestrians. Also other trams in it though. And we can see that there are over 1,000 people waiting. And over here we can see that there are 600 people waiting. So this is actually like a traffic problem and an issue with pedestrians, which is a problem we are essentially trying to solve with the trams, but are currently unable to, because pedestrians are blocking it. I would like to check on our other tram line, and we can see that this tram line too is also being heavily utilized. I think that the solution for this one would maybe just add another vehicle or two. Again, I am seeing like a jam up over here, which I'm actually not sure if I removed the stop sign, or the sign for tram stop, and it seems like I did. So right here is just like a huge issue with traffic, because people are trying to turn right, but they can't, I think. So I think the solution might actually be put a slip lane. This might actually be the issue solved, as we can see a lot of people are taking the slip lane and turning right. Now, I think that I want to change this road to be a 4-lane asymmetric road with 3 lanes going one way and 1 lane going the other. The reason for that is because I don't want cars to get like caught up and the line to get messed up here, because cars are trying to go straight. And I don't think this will be much of an issue, as we can see cars aren't really turning left or going straight onto this expressway. Looking over here, we can see that there are much less people crossing here, and most people are actually using our overpass. We can still see though that traffic is backed up, and I actually think the solution might be to remove the roundabout. With that said, we have a lot of money, and I think that we've got a lot done in this city, in this video, and I think that this is where we can end it. Also, that is all of our debt paid off.